Hi, so good evening. I'm Karishma from the Tech Container team. Thanks a lot for joining us today. To give you a little bit of context about Tech Container, we've been using this platform to share knowledge on upcoming trends, and we've been hosting sessions on various emerging technologies every month, with this being our 16th meetup. Now, moving on to the session planned for the day. To introduce us to the world of chatbots, I take immense pleasure in introducing the speaker, Vishnupriya. Our speaker is an AI chatbot enthusiast who is really passionate about NLP, conversation driven development, building beautiful interfaces with React, the infra world of Kubernetes, the data world of Airflow, to name a few. So, thanks a lot for being here, Vishnupriya. I'll let you take over now.
Thanks a lot, Karishma, for the lovely intro. Hi, everyone, and I hope everyone is doing well in this pandemic situation. So, without doing much ado, let's get into the world of chatbots by building a simple chatbot. So, as you can see, today's session is about building a chatbot made easy. The misconception about building chatbots is that it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. While some of that is true, we also have some open source frameworks that are available for us through which we can make it in under an hour. Really, in under an hour. So let's start doing it. But before doing it, we need to get to know some basics of chatbots so that we'll be able to we'll be able to do it very well and will not be stumbling upon while creating the chatbot. So this is our agenda for today's session. First, we'll be seeing what is a chatbot, and then we'll be seeing what an intent is about, and then we'll be seeing a concept of entity and stories, and then we'll be going into the world of two awesome frameworks available for us out there, BotFriend and RasaX. While RasaX and Rasa is quite popular out there, BotFriend is just making its foot into the open source framework field, and it has also great features which are comparable to RasaX. And the reason of introducing BotFriend here is that it is much easier as it provides a UI interface and also much simpler to do a chatbot in under an hour. So before we begin with all of this, we already know that the field of chatbot is developing quite a lot nowadays. But the one thing that is lacking in chatbot development, based on my experience as well as from the peers that I get to hear, is that we are not really sure how should our chatbot be built, and it should be, the way to make it efficient. We are not yet clear on that. And by not meaning clear on that, I mean that the industries are facing a problem while they release the chatbot to the users, but after a certain period of time they start facing problems like the users get unrelated answers, or they don't get the answers that they really need. So the answer for this, as conceived by Alan Nicole from Rasa, is conversation driven development. And what is conversation driven development is that it involves the steps of sharing, reviewing, annotating, testing, tracking, and fixing. Now, let us briefly go through each step. By sharing, what we mean is that what is happening in the industry now is we are developing and designing a bot, and we are just releasing into the market without knowing what the users feel about it or what the users really want from our bot. So the sharing means that we'll be sharing our initial version of the bot with the test users, and we'll be seeing how the users are using it. You may be surprised to know the ways the different questions are being asked, or even the questions the users ask which you are not prepared for. So sharing is always the first step and the best step to get to know how your bot will perform when it's out in the market. The next step would be reviewing. So once you have shared your bot and the test users have tested it, you have to review the bot very carefully. Now, by reviewing, the most certain and the basic standards that are being used by the industry now is something called accuracy or precision or recall, which are metrics, which I don't say that it is wrong or it's not to be followed. It is definitely to be followed to know how our bot is working. But the most important thing other than that would be to see how our users are asking the questions. That is, to go through the flow completely. For example, each user will not ask with a hi and ask a question. Some users may ask directly a question. For example, today's bot, we are going to do an insurance bot. So taking that bot into reference, an insurance mainly consists of something called premium and fund value. So the premium will be the installments that you will be paying for your policy till it gets lapsed. So what our designers or the companies generally expect is, when a user enters into the bot, he'll say first hi and then he'll ask his premium. That's not the only way the user is going to ask. An user can come just ask premium or just due or something like that. So we should be prepared for scenarios like that, which I feel the metrics will not be able to help there. So once we go through all the test user conversation and review it very carefully, we'll be able to know that there are users who are asking this way also. The next step comes annotate. In case of annotating, whatever the test users queries we have reviewed, we need to annotate them. That is, we need to mark them as correct or not. For example, certain users may also ask, what is the football score for today? That is not what we need. That's not what our bot offers. So that case, we can mark it as wrong and we can ignore. So annotation of the correct and the wrong usage of the bot also has to happen, so that we need to serve efficiently. What I am observing is that certain companies are trying to incorporate everything, and maybe they also add an intent to give the football score. They may connect to an API, give the live football score, but that's not what our chatbot is intended to do, right? So we should be able to draw limits to what our chatbot can do, and for that annotation is very much necessary. So once all these steps are done, we need to test them again. By testing again, what I mean is that the complete testing. Again, what I said in the previous steps, that we are taking a matrix. So instead of taking metrics here, we need to take how the users are actually behaving. So once these three steps are completed, we can release the bot again and see and improve on a daily basis or a monthly basis in however we want. And the next important step is tracking. Doing all these steps and getting everything is, not making use of all these things correctly is a waste. So we need to track. How we need to track is that we need to track the number of successful conversations as well as the number of failure conversations. By number, I don't mean my metrics, because we already talked, that doesn't make much of a difference. So we need to consider the successful conversations as well to maintain our efficiency. What I see is that we are only concentrating on the failure queries, and we are trying to improve the bot, which may also lead the successful queries also to not perform well. The next thing after performing all these steps, that is, we go to the users, we get what they want, we track everything. And the last thing and the most sensible thing would be to fix all this. So the last step coming here is fixing. So this is the conversation driven development, which is, I think, the best way to go about in building an efficient chatbot. Now, this also relates to this code. We can't solve our problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. What do we mean by that? We need to evolve. Even with our chatbot, we need to evolve continuously. These same steps that I told before can also be evolved according to our users. So our focus should be on our users, not what we already know. So what we should do is, we should ideate, we should prototype, we should test, and we should repeat. We should perform this cyclic process so that it gets as efficient as possible. So after talking all this way of creating a chatbot, we'll see what is a chatbot. So chatbot is something that simulates the conversation of a human being. That should be the main aim of the chatbot. Should be, it should resemble a human being as close as possible. For this, we use the concepts called NLP and NLU and get energy out of it. The NLP and NLU part also has something called intent, entities, and stories. So the intent is nothing but what the user wants or intends to know. In our example, it might be something called premium due. What is the premium due of my policy? The intent is to know the premium due. And in case of entity will refer to the specifics of a user intention. In this case, we can consider an example of changing our personal details. Our intent would be changing our personal details, but the specific would be whether we want to change the email, or we want to change the mobile number, or we want to change the address, or we want to change anything else. So however, if the user is very specific, we should give the same specificity. The bot should give the same specificity as well. If it doesn't give the specific answer, then the user might go away. The third important concept is the stories. This involves tracking of the flow of conversation between a user and the bot. Okay, so we have seen a lot of theory. So let's go into rapid prototyping. Before prototyping, let's see what we are going to use today. So we are going to use two frameworks called RasaX and BotFriend. So RasaX is a tool that helps to build, improve, and deploy our AI assistants. And BotFriend is another tool which uses Rasa at the backend and gives a powerful UI and makes it much more simpler than using Rasa itself. Before going to the demo, we see that there are certain barriers to entry here which need to be crossed. First is the installation step. We'll be going through that as well. And second is the learning curve. For the learning curve, I think we need to keep on developing and evolving so that we learn it as fast as we can. The main three concepts will help us more in learning, but the curve will be established once we evolve. And the third will be the infrastructure, which we'll be covering here. So the infrastructure options available for us to build a chatbot are these. The Google Cloud Engine, which has $300 free credit, a 12-month trial period, and a 20+ always free products. And we also have DigitalOcean, which gives a $100 free credit and a 60-day trial period. We have Amazon Web Services as well, which has hover-based and memory-based plans. And we also have short-term trial periods. We have Azure as well, which gives 13,300 credit for 30 days and a 12-month period for 12 specific services. So any one of these infrastructure can be chosen for us. This is available for us for developing free of cost. So let's go to the live demo. Hopefully we have our demo gods helping us today. Nevertheless, we'll try to learn as much as we can. So based on the infrastructure options available to me, I have taken a GCP Cloud Engine because what I feel is that after a lot of trial and error, I feel this is the more reliable and useful option for me. So I'll be creating an instance. It doesn't mean that it is a standard one. You can use whichever one you prefer. So let's name our instance as bot demo instance. Okay, let us keep the region as US Central itself. And let us choose a E2 generation with what I am preferring is a 4 CPU and a 16 GB RAM, 4 core, because that is what I feel preferable and reliable as well. So let's choose the disk to be Ubuntu. Now, why I have chosen Ubuntu is that there are a lot of other Linux platforms also, but what I feel is that Ubuntu is the go-to for Docker, and I prefer working with Docker as well. And we can see in the installations further that we'll be using Kubernetes also. So Ubuntu is very well go-to for that. So I'll be using that, and I'll be using a 100 GB size. I'll be giving full access and I'll be allowing all the traffic. So let's create it. So once we build a basic chatbot, which has all the intents that we need, then we can use the CDD or the conversation driven development and we can evolve it. So let me connect to my SSH and I'll start installing. So first we'll be seeing RasaX. Then if time permits, we'll be seeing BotFriend as well. RasaX is usually used to improve your assistant once you have built a initial assistant in Rasa. But many people will be, the beginners would be really afraid to go to a concept of Python or MD, creating MD files, and those barriers of entry would be there. So initially itself, we are going to RasaX because we want to remove that barrier of entry. So here we are using single line deployment, which uses Kubernetes underneath. So you can see installing embedded Kubernetes cluster. And we are installing RasaX. There is also a misconception that, okay, we have something here. It's asking to add the following command in the bash RC of a file. So let's open another SSH. Yeah. So we'll be going to the bash RC file. And we'll be adding this one. Maybe saving it. Perfect. Now we can close this off. And we can copy the credentials. We have got the credentials here. So we'll be let's copy everything. So this will be a password for getting on to RasaX. Once we get the URL, we'll be going into the URL and giving the password. So as I was, where was I? So I was saying that RasaX was usually used for improving our assistant after developing further assistant. So we'll be removing the barrier of entry here. And this will take a few minutes, not much more time. Meanwhile, I can take any questions if you have. 1 or 2 questions if you have. Till we get the URL. No questions, is it? So everybody is very clear. That gives a lot of confidence to me. Thanks.
Hi, Vishnupriya.
Hi.
The question is about, okay, I have used Rasa framework for developing a first chatbot through a course, and I would like to know what is the difference between this RasaX and typical Rasa framework.
Okay. So Rasa gives you a UI on top of it, and also you have something called interactive learning in RasaX, where you can get the user conversations or give your own conversations and train the bot, which is not possible in a normal Rasa environment. We have got the URL. I hope that answers your question.
Yep. Thank you.
Great. So let me. Okay. So we have the password, right? So we'll paste the password. and we'll sign in. Perfect. So we have logged into RasaX. This is the feature to help you tour around. We can see this later. Let's start building a bot. So here you can see we have options to talk to your bot, which is what I said about interactive learning. And we have conversations, which we'll be getting from our users, from the real users. And we have an NLU inbox where we can view predictions. For example, if the user has given premium, how much confidence has he predicted the intent as premium due, we can see those details, the metrics here. And we also have the models. This will be available after we train the agent. And then we have NLU data. This is where we need to go. So let's go and start creating. So let's consider a scenario where the user is wishing the bot or saying hi or greeting the bot and then starting the conversation. So for that, you can see here there is no intent available or no example available. So let's create an intent and add simple hello and select here. So here you can see the option of creating new intent and just give the name as greet. Press save. Let's give 4 phrases for now for our demo training. But the recommended number of phrases to train would be 15 to 20 when you go into production. So let me say Maria as one greet, and hi as one greet. Then let me say Wasser as one more greet. Okay. So we have now created our intent and we have added certain phrases. So let's create at least 2 intents before training and testing how it would look. So I'm going to create, as I said, we are going to see an insurance bot demo today. So I'm going to create an intent related to premium. That is, the user wants to know what his or her premium amount will be. So I'm creating a premium due intent. So I'm giving something like, since it will be paid in installments based on their frequency, I'm also adding a training phrase called my next installment, just to be sure if somebody asks, installment other than premium. So we are creating a new intent called premium due. Then we have something, how much premium is due for my policy. Let's select premium due, save. Then we have policy premium due for me, premium due. Then I want to know regarding my premium. Let's create 4 for now. So now we have created how the user is going to ask, the different ways or the ways that we know of before going to production, how the user is going to ask. Let's go to the responses. Once the user asks, the bot has to respond, right? So for that, let's create certain responses. So for greet, I'm going to create something called utter greet. This is just a naming convention, nothing to worry about. I'm sorry, we have to create new one, right? So we are creating utter greet. And then I'm saying hello with an exclamation. I'm saving it. Then I'm also creating one for premium due. So I'm creating new again, saying utter premium due. For now, we'll just give a string as your premium due is rupees 10,000, something like that. Save. So now we have created the variations and the responses. Stories. So if we remember the presentation, we had intent, entity, and stories, right? So for intent, we had the NLU data done, and for response, we need a response to give to the user. We have done the stories. Now we need to define how the user. Okay. For just for ease of this here, we'll import a story that we already have. I've already a story with me, and I'll just be editing so that for ease of understanding. So here you see my this is something which is available with Rasa as well, and I also added certain things. So this is a mood bot which says, so if you say a story, you can see a flow chart also by the side. So the conversation starts and there is a greet intent, and the user may ask hi, hello, or certain things here. Then the utter greet by the bot. Then mood great. So the user says I'm not happy, or I'm sad, or I'm happy, certain stuff like that. Then if the user says sad, then it has to utter happy. Otherwise, if the user says I'm happy, then it has to say carry on. So that was the story prepared here. So we'll change it according to our thing. So this is a general naming convention. So I'll name it as a premium due happy path. So first will be the greet, the same intent we have used. The intent name is same. The response name is also same. Now here I'm going to change the next intent in my conversation. I'm expecting it to be that the premium due is being asked. For that, I'm going to utter, or the bot is going to utter premium due. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to delete the other stories. It's of no use to us as of now. We can create new as we evolve. Okay, so we have done the NLU data, the responses, the stories. So one more thing that Rasa has is called the configuration. Configuration is something which uses the process of NLP, that is the structured, the data that the user gives has to be converted into something that the computers can understand. So that uses something called the pipeline and policies. So the pipeline is something where the bot will be understanding what the user says. That will be the NLU part of it, the natural language understanding. And the policy section will be the natural language generation part of it. So once the bot understands what the user is saying, it has to respond back, right? That is in a user understandable language. So for those, the policies are used. So I'm using the latest configuration from Rasa, which has the diet classifier and the response selector and the entity selector. So this is the latest configuration from Rasa. So I'm using it. I'm copying and just pasting it here inside the pipeline. So the diet is nothing but we had seen intent and entity, right? So both things will be recognized at the same time when we use diet. That's the only difference at a high level. That's what diet is. So I'm going to save the config. Perfect. And domain. Domain, yeah, if you see, the intent is available. That is the story I had imported had all these intents, but the domain doesn't have. So to understand what domain is like what you call a YAML file or something which has all the details about the intents, entities, and the responses that we have. So if you can see the intents that we have that I imported from the stories automatically got imported here. But what we want is only greet and premium due. So I'm deleting the other stuff. And we have not yet gone to the rest. I'm sorry. Whatever the responses that we have given has automatically populated here. For example, for utter greet, you have this response. For premium due, you have this response, right? And actions is where the responses the bot gives are given as actions in the domain file. So if you can see, it says that these intents were there in the stories file, but it's not the domain file. So let's remove all of them. Okay, and let's see. So now we have done step by step what the user will ask. We have given the variations, we have given the responses of what the bot will say, we have given the stories, we have seen what the configuration is, we have seen what the domain is. Now we'll be training the bot. Let's train it. And by training it, what training means is that the bot will be learning from whatever the examples we have given. If the user gives in a different way, for example, premium due is what we have given, and the user just asks premium, but both mean the same, but the way the user is asked is different. So that is what the bot is trying to learn when we click the train button by using NLP or machine learning on a high level. So the training is going on. And to answer the previous question, one more thing that is, that distinguishes RASA and RASA X is that you can see RASA X here has something called, you can connect to your Git repository and you can make the changes and you can do CI and CD with this. That is not possible with RASA. So you can connect to a repository with your GitHub here. If time permits, we'll see this also. For the moment, let's see the chatbot, how it works. And all your changes will be updated to your Git repository in the RASA file format. So you'll have the MD file and you have all the stuff so that you can import those and you can work on RASA also later. So now the training is completed. So let's see, a model will be created based on which our bot will be responding to the user. So let's make this model as active so that this is what the bot uses to answer us. Now let's go to the interactive learning and check if our training is correct or not. Okay, so this is checking for the models. Let's wait a few seconds for the models to load. Let's refresh and see. Yes, we got a model and we have already made it active. So let's talk to a bot now. Perfect. So you can see talk to our assistant and hit these. You can also, what I said, right, in RASA, you cannot make the changes like if it's wrong or right. In the conversation driven development side we had seen to track and test, we can do the same here. So let me go about according to my story. So first I'll say hi. And then the bot responds with a hello. And then let me say something which I have not trained. So this is something which I have not trained, but it means the same. So let's check if it works or not. So it's working perfectly fine. So as you can see, we can still evolve. For example, we can keep on checking and we can still evolve. Okay, so we need to add this. So as we can see with the amount of training that we have done, this stuff works, though we have not explicitly mentioned in our NLU data, right? Fine. So this is done. So one more feature here in interactive learning is that we can save our story here, where, you know, if the user asks something different, which we'll understand when I create a third intent. Let me create another intent and explain the story here. Let me go to the NLU data again. So now I'm going to create an intent to change my private details. Now the concept of entity comes in here. Previously we didn't have that concept. The intent was very clear and very specific. So let's see how to do that now. So I'm going to add, I'm going to take into consideration changing of my email ID and my mobile number. So I'm giving.
Ayyo.
Can you reduce your voice?
Bishop, can you, yeah, I think, yeah, you were muted.
Yeah. So I'm creating something called change private details and I'm saving it. So now if you see, my intent is to update my private details, but I still have to be specific. So I'm going to create an entity, which is my, which is going to be my email. So I'm going to create it newly. Okay, I think it's stuck. Let me refresh it. So I'm putting something like update personal details is how I'm naming my entity to be. And I'm saving the changes. Let me add another one. So now I'm adding another variation related to email itself. This will be something called change email. And I'm choosing the intent and I'm saving it. And I'm choosing the entity. Perfect. Now I'm going to create another for email just to be sure with now as email ID. So this will be the variation that we'll be adding. Using the intent and saving. Now I want to give some variations for mobile number. So here I'll be selecting mobile number to be my entity. Another for mobile. So this will be the final variation that I'll be giving for now. Okay. I guess the changes are saved, but anyway, I'm going to do it again. Okay. Now we have to give a response for this entity. I mean intent. So let's go and give a response. So here my response name would be utter change private details. And for now, I'll be giving the response like you can change your private details on our website just for a demo. And save. Perfect. Now we are going to go to the stories and we are going to create another happy path. So this will be change private details, happy path. And then here we are going to be the same, like the first, we are imagining that the user will first come and greet the bot and then we'll ask to change the private details. So we are going to be giving a greet intent and the specific utterance. Then we are going to give the change private details and the specific utterance for that. But here we have a catch because we have an entity with us. We also have to give it here so that the bot is able to understand. We have to give it an explicit way. So our entity name is update personal details. And let's try for email for now. And the entity value will be email. Right? So we are going to save this. And you see the flowchart is created automatically. So if you don't understand how to do these, the specific syntax of it, you can always look at the flowchart and you can do it. So the stories are here. Configuration domain we have already done. Anything missing? I don't think so. Yeah. So for our entities, it's not a rule that the user should always ask an email as an email. He can ask this as mail also. So for that, we can create synonyms here. So the reference value will be email because that's what we have marked as our entity. We'll be creating new. But the synonym can be a mail or a mail ID. But one thing to note is that if you add a synonym, you'll have to add the respective NLU examples also so that the bot will understand. So have we added mail here? I don't think so. So let's add. Oops, I can't see the entity that I marked. What happened? Let me do it again. It's not getting saved, I guess. Let me do a refresh and see if it's getting saved. No, it's not getting saved. Let me try again. So this will be the final time we'll be trying because I don't want to waste all of your time. But the thing is that you can create entities here itself. And there is one more concept called slots where you can use this entity and this value for the bot to remember. Okay, there seems some issue here. We'll try to get back to this if time permits. But what I wanted to show is that let's train. So what I wanted to show is that we can create entities here itself. I'm not sure what the bug is, why it's not working now, but we can see it later as well. So yeah, we can do everything here, and we can also check our efficiency of the bot. We can also share from the users. We'll be seeing how to share it also with the test users, which we talked in the beginning. So till the model is getting trained, any other questions? We have any other questions to be answered? Perfect. So I think all of you understood how to do it. Yeah, I think I got a new question.
Hi. One question is all the wiring that we do, like actions and entities and intents, are all of a GUI type here, right?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the last part of the question? I didn't get that.
Okay, with respect to Rasa, I see that we don't do any wiring, just like how we do with the different files in typical or the plain Rasa framework. We have a kind of a GUI support where I think that wiring happens internally.
Yes, exactly. Most of the things that you need, for example, in the domain, everything gets automatically generated instead of you typing in the normal Rasa format. Also, the GUI is very easy and it's less intimidating for the beginners who want to start with Rasa. That's the main concept of Rasa X, which I found very fascinating, because when I started Rasa, Rasa X was not available and I was really terrified starting with it. But now I feel it's really awesome to get started, with the GUI and with all these improvements.
Okay. How about the machine learning model behind?
Yeah, the machine learning model behind we had seen in the config part, where this, the sentence what you get, for example, what is my premium due? For it, the computer to understand, we'll have to convert it into zeros and ones. So the first step would be to tokenize it, to convert it into small tokens. So here we use something called convert tokenizer to tokenize it. The next will be, after tokenizing it, we'll have to featureize it. We'll have to convert it into features. We need to remove the stop words. For example, what is not very useful for our bot, but the words premium due are very useful. So we need to pick up those words. We need to featureize. and then we need to classify it. For example, the due can also mean something related to due date, which is different from premium due. So the classification part will split the due date and the premium due very explicitly for the bot to understand. The bot can confuse between due date and premium due, right? So for that we are using a classifier called diet classifier, and the previously we used a different classifier for intent and a different extractor for entities. For entities we need to extract what is the entity. Is it email or is it mobile? But with the diet classifier, what we get is we get both intent classification and entity extraction simultaneously done, which is very awesome, very beautiful, is what I feel. And then we also have something called response selector. For example, if you are building a normal FAQ bot, you don't have various, in our example, if you take, the premium amount can be different for different users, right? So we may need to go to our API and fetch it. But in case of an FAQ bot, for example, where is the airport located? It's always located at a certain place only. It won't change. So in case of that FAQ bot, your response doesn't change. So you can use something called response selector. You can create a separate file of responses and you can take the responses from there. So that is the NLU part. And in the NLG part or the NLP part, once understanding the user input, it has to respond. So for that we have a memorization policy, which is where we have given the stories now, right? Different stories. So memorization policy just memorizes those stories, and it will work only if the user asks in that way. We have given, for example, utter greet and utter premium due, right? In our story, if the user asks something in between football score, it won't work, because our story says utter greet and utter premium due. That is the flow that we have designed. So that is memorization. And Keras uses neural networks for giving the response. And mapping policy is when you have forms. For example, you want the user to give more information. For example, the user wants to find a hospital nearby. You want to ask which area you are located, what is the radius you are looking for. So you want to ask certain questions and get the answers from them. And based on those answers, you want to fetch an API or a database and give the particular hospital location, which is the nearest. So for that, mapping policy is used. So this is on a high level how the machine learning works.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. So let's go to the bot and see our story if it works or not now. So first would be the greet. Just giving hi. And then the next would be change my email. Change my email. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, so let us do something like, so we can actually correct it here by using the strict mode. We can see that later. So why it didn't work is because it's very similar to premium, and we'll have to add more phrases maybe. That is an evolution part where we have to do trial and error method and find out why it didn't work. Okay, why is this not working? Let me check for 2 minutes. We have not given the story. Oh, we have given. Okay. Maybe we need to change the model. Yeah, see, if you see here, the previous model has been made as active, where we haven't even added the change private detail stuff, right? But after adding the change private detail stuff, we are trained, and we have to make that model as active, and that's why it's not recognizing our private details. Let's see if it recognizes now. So I give hi and let's see change email. Why is this not working? Let me train again. Okay. So this is the latest one. Refresh. Okay, this is the one that is made active. see. Okay, we'll have to troubleshoot this and find out why it's not working. Let me try one more time. So the action is not getting recognized. If you see here the story, the change private details intent has been recognized, but the action is not getting recognized. Okay. Is there something related to this? I'm not sure. I'll just try it. Okay, let me delete this and let me train again. The demo gods have not shown their mercy on us. See? Okay, got it. Why is the latest model not getting loaded? Okay, it seems to be a glitch. Anyway, I'll try for the last time and see if it works. Okay, so I guess something is really wrong here. So, and I also see that the latest model is not getting loaded. And since for the lack of time, we'll not be able to do this. Otherwise, we'd have troubleshooted this. So, yeah. So, and this is how you do it basically, but I didn't have the time to troubleshoot it. So sorry for that. And for BotFriend, I wanted to show BotFriend, which is a much easier way of doing stuff. But for the lack of time, I think I'll also not be able to do that. But I have already a running instance of BotFriend with me. So where is that? So I'll stop this one. I have a dev instance of my BotFriend with me. So I'll start that and I'll just show you a sneak peek of it so you can explore it later. Any questions till now? No.
Hey, Vishnupriya, this is Ravi. Hey, thanks for the presentation. Good. So I have one question, right? So it's very generic, and what will be the selling factor when we have some kind of chatbot which is already implemented, right, to the enterprise level? So let's say Google,
Okay.
Galaxy, Amazon. So we have a number of things in market. So
Yeah.
what will be the selling factor if we are moving from direct flow to Rasa, right? So how Rasa stands out and differs from the existing chatbot frameworks, or is it some kind of enhanced version we can embed with the existing one? So that's my question.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for asking that question, Ravi, because my experience with Dialogflow has been really, bittersweet, because I migrated from Dialogflow to Rasa actually. Basically, my first introduction to the world of chatbots was through Dialogflow, and with due credit, it has a lot of features. It also has a GUI. which makes it easy to do stuff. But one major difference, what I observed, or one major selling point of Rasa, what I would say, is that Dialogflow doesn't have a way for you to tune your machine learning model. The machine learning model that Dialogflow uses is of Google's. You can only try to tune certain configurations, for example, your threshold method, or what you want to do, certain things like that, or you want to use a hybrid model or an ML only model. Only those options are available in Dialogflow. But here, as you can see in the config file that we had seen, right from tokenization till the end of the response of the bot, you have the choice to choose whatever the library you want, whatever the tokenizer you want. It gives a lot of customization, flexibility, and also it increases the efficiency alongside. The latest config has convert featureizer, but you can also use something called white space tokenizer, for example, which is widely used. So we have the option basically to switch between different tokenizers or different featureizers or different mapping policy. You can also use Keras. You can use memoization, whatever fits you. So I think that's the biggest selling platform. And the other thing is that Rasa is open source. You can see the code, what's happening underneath. If you want to customize, you can also customize the code and use it. If you don't want, if you don't have the options here. So yeah, these two are the unique selling points that fascinated me, being a Dialogflow developer to Rasa developer now. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thanks.
Let me quickly up this instance and quickly show you. I'll not take much of your time. Perfect. So let me go to okay. I'm sorry. So I have to up the botfriend instance first. So once I install botfriend, for botfriend we need Node and Docker. Once those are installed, we can install botfriend. The instructions is available in the documentation. After installing botfriend, we'll have to give a command called botfriend up to up the botfriend service and botfriend down to stop the service. So I'll just give botfriend up quickly and I'll show you. I guess it's taking a lot of time. We'll see for 2 more minutes if we can see that. Otherwise, I would suggest you to explore it. Okay, so let me log in as root first. Meanwhile, any questions you can ask. I'm really sorry, I don't think we'll be able to make this today, but I would want to show you the project so that you can explore it yourself. So these are the extra features provided by botfriend, I'm sorry. So basically it also gives you a GUI, no coding required. But what we see, we were typing the stories here, right? So in BotFriend, we can do even the stories in UI. So that's another advantage of BotFriend. Doesn't take even that much time that we took to type also for the stories to work. And another fantastic thing is that this is also open source, same as, and uses Rasa at the backend. So I would encourage you to explore this, and you can also let me know in case of anything. So I would like to conclude my session here and apologize for the models not working well. I would like to troubleshoot and I'll get back to you in case anything. And the QR code can be scanned and you can reach me on LinkedIn anytime. And you can ask if any further queries also you have. And we can also try to collaborate or anything. And also another announcement that I would like to make, we also have a Rasa Community Chennai chapter. You can join there. We'll be having a lot of updates and we'll be having people from Rasa talking to us and we'll be having the latest updates over there. So yeah, thanks a lot for being such a patient audience.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the session, Vishnu. And for everyone who joined us today, I really hope you enjoyed it as well. This session will be uploaded on our YouTube channel too, probably by tomorrow. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.